What's going on, everybody? Curtis Wilkerson here with Inside Arkansas and the Pot at the Palace from San Francisco. Man, I tell you what, every time we go on one of these trips, I try to go somewhere and give you guys just a little bit different of a view besides looking at, the wall of a bedroom and my ugly face, right? My big old head. This has got to take the cake, man. I mean, Providence was awesome. Lexington was a lot of fun. Auburn was cool. But this is San Francisco, man. Look at that. The Chase Center right behind me, the house that Moses Moody built. And then you just flip it around and we got the bay. Just absolutely gorgeous out here. So I thought I'd walk around, talk about what we saw Wednesday during media day, vibe check day as we like to call it, and then get you previewed up for this game and give you a little bit of scenery along the way. But here we are. I mean, it's crazy. The Sweet 16 back in San Francisco again. Who'd have thunk it? Just iconic memories of Arkansas taking down number 1 overall seed Gonzaga in here. And then the agony of defeat. You know, you had that opportunity maybe for Eric Musselman to get that statue built and take down Coach K and end his career. Yeah, didn't quite work out that way. Paolo Banchero had other plans there for the Dukies. But now here we are. You got Arkansas and Texas Tech. You've got Florida and Maryland. And one of these teams is going to get out of this thing, and they're headed to San Antonio for the Final Four. And Arkansas does have a realistic, very real chance to get it done. It ain't going to be easy. All these teams are good. Everybody who's at this stage of the season is good. That's why I don't care so much about the re-ranking of the Sweet 16 teams and Arkansas's last or whatever. Who cares? Of course they are. They're the 10 seed. They're the only double-digit seed in here. That's the way it works. But all these teams are good. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here at this point. So I'm recording on Wednesday after the media day stuff is ended. So we've gone through everybody's practices. We've been through all the interviews, the press conferences, whatever. We got a pulse on the situation down here in San Francisco, and let's get into it. The Cinderella stuff with Arkansas. I thought that maybe they'd be able to embrace it, right? I talked about it for just a second here a minute ago. You know, the only double-digit seed. Like it's the first time Cal has had a double-digit seed in the NCAA tournament. There's some things there, right? Last in all those, Sweet 16 team power rankings, picked to lose again by, pretty much everyone in the national media. It also has Texas Tech to cover. Gotta get rid of the gum. What am I doing chewing gum on this thing? But you know what I mean? Like, I guess in a lot of ways, the slipper kind of fit, right? Well, wrong. They're not having it. There are zero happy to be here vibes from Arkansas. They are here to win. They're dialed in. They're focused, and I think that was very, very apparent today. Seed be damned. Nobody cares about that, right? And honestly, ask Bill Self and Rick Pitino if he felt like Arkansas looked like a 10 seed last week in Providence. You know what I mean? The crazy thing is here, this team comes from the SEC, and the SEC has a ton of respect right now throughout the country for what they've done. And I mean, my goodness, why wouldn't they? 7 teams in the Sweet 16. That's a record. They've got 15 wins in the NCAA tournament right now as a league. The record is 19. They're doing special stuff here, right? And Arkansas is a part of it. So no, this is not a Cinderella story for the Razorbacks. They are here because they are extremely talented. They've been playing high-level basketball here recently, and they've come here thinking they're going to win this thing and move on and play again next weekend. Now they just got to go out there and get it done on the floor. We'll see if it happens. Some notes from practice today. Let's start with the Arkansas angle of this. Obviously, all eyes on Adu Thiero, right? Wrong. All eyes were not on Adu Thiero because he didn't practice for the Razorbacks. And that was a little bit of a surprise as we, went out to the floor. Media got 15 minutes of practice viewing, so nothing crazy. But this was not like Providence where you had, they practiced off campus and then they came back to the arena and it was like open to the public. It was a half hour. You could get some shots up, happy-go-lucky stuff. No, it was nothing like that. It was business time for the Razorbacks and everybody here. A full hour and a half practice. Media got to check out the first 15 minutes. Adu Thiero was there. He was dressed out. He was chilling on the sidelines. Looked like he was getting some treatment maybe on that knee. And we were thinking, okay, is this chess that John Calipari is playing? Do we have an issue? Was there a setback? Then you hear John Calipari talking in the press conference. He said, hey, Adu practiced yesterday. Knee was bothering him, so I didn't push it today. Didn't practice him. Can he play tomorrow? Well, we'll see. We hope maybe we can get 8 to 10 minutes out of him if there's foul trouble. So then you're thinking, dang, I mean, what's really going on here? This doesn't sound good. Well, then we go to the locker room, and there's Adu. They're ready and willing and able to talk to everyone, which is a first in the NCAA tournament. And I know he didn't participate last weekend. That's why we couldn't talk to him. But he was there, and basically his vibes were a lot different. It was like, hey, I'm just trying to get back acclimated with the guys, feeling good, kind of like Boogie. I don't want to mess up their chemistry, whatever. But hey, just sore from the day yesterday, and trying to make sure I'm feeling as good as possible for the game. It sounds to me like maybe what Arkansas is doing here is they don't want to have him go through 2 back-to-back hard days of practice in a row and be sore and further away from 100% than he needs to be going into this game. So I'm going into it expecting him to play. Obviously, you'll see how he feels tomorrow. Like if he wakes up in the morning, on Thursday and he's still sore and he's not feeling good or whatever, or warm-ups don't go well, that could be one thing. But like my thought process on Adu's availability for this has not necessarily changed. So I was hoping we could see him run around, jump, dunk a basketball, all those cool things that would make you feel good about what he could potentially bring to the table in this matchup. We didn't get to see it. It is what it is. You move on. But who was there? A lot of the other Razorbacks who've got them to this point, right? Throughout the course of last weekend, Adu wasn't out there. Arkansas was still able to do what they've done, right? The last week of the regular season when they got those 2 huge wins, Adu wasn't out there, but Arkansas was still able to do what it did, right? So, again, they were getting after it a little bit at practice. And it was interesting to me because they got out there, they immediately went into some drill work, guards on one end, bigs on the other, and they were going hard, working on finishing through contact, working on coming off of screens and knocking down shots. They were getting after it out there a little bit, and I was kind of sitting right there on the floor level, right by some photographers, and there was a national photographer who was talking to a local reporter, and what he said was, yeah, I was just out here for Maryland's practice. Arkansas, damn, they practice hard. It's different. And immediately I was like, wait, is this an Eric Musselman coach team? Because we used to hear that with them, but that's what we heard for Arkansas, and I thought they really were kind of getting out there and getting after it. And it was right away. I mean, they were basically still warming up. So this team, dialed in. That's the kind of stuff you like to hear. What about Inflategate, right? You guys remember that? Have you heard about that? Where people were saying the basketballs at the NCAA tournament are overinflated and they're too bouncy, hard off of the rim or whatever. Well, Arkansas shot it well in there. I don't know if it's because players have just seen Steph Curry make 1,010,000 threes or Moses Moody make a bunch of threes in that building where they thought, okay, well, I mean, we're going to come in here and splash it anyway. Arkansas shot better in the Chase Center than they did in Providence in the practice. Now, they got to do it in games. They hit 8 threes in 2 games in Providence, did not shoot it well. That's something that they're going to need to do, I think, in this arena. And then I asked Trevin Brazile about it in the locker room afterwards, like, hey, what's this deal with the basketballs? And he actually said he liked it. He said different balls than what they have at home, but he kind of likes the grip, thought it felt good in there, liked the shooting backdrop, and he was a guy who I thought really stood out there. Speaking of standing out, who popped in practice today, I got to give Trevin credit. The dude was dunking everything that he got his hands on around the rim, which is really good. You like to see, just guys who are not out there being casual in practice, treating it like a game. I thought he shot really well when they were working on some pick and pop stuff. So that was encouraging because I think he could be a huge factor for Arkansas stretching the floor at that forward position in this basketball game. Nelly Davis, I think, was the most impressive. He stood out head and shoulders above everyone else. I'm just being honest. Shot the crap out of it. It's like you hope it translates again, but he was absolutely stroking. I think John got some video. Check it out on our Inside Arkansas YouTube channel a couple times where he made like 8, 9, 10 threes in a row. He was really, really dialed in, and he was going hard as hell. Lead by example kind of deal. Every rep is a game rep kind of deal. That's exactly what we were seeing from John L. Davis. He was really working hard, breaking a sweat, had everybody else kind of eyeballing him, saying, hey, man, I'm trying to get loose out here, but I guess I better get it going. And he was competitive. Was good stuff. I was really happy with what I saw from Nelly Davis. Another guy that really stood out to me, if I had to pick a third, was Billy Richmond. Just explosive. They were driving the basketball from different angles, taking some contact against the GAs who were getting vertical or trying to challenge them. And it's just like, hey, gather yourself, make the layup, soft kiss off the glass, whatever. No, like Billy's dunking on these dudes. Like the poor GAs were getting posterized because Billy Richmond was going hard in the paint. Again, you love to see it, but he seemed really locked in there. I liked it. The locker room vibes were good. That combination that we talked about, right, between loose and locked in. And I thought that's exactly what Arkansas was. A lot of smiles. You kind of get those guys going a little bit with some of the questions that you ask. Get a smile out of them, get some jokes out of them. And we were able to get some of that. But when you start talking about basketball, you can tell that these guys are on a mission, as they should be, right? But once again, I felt like Arkansas absolutely passed the vibe check there. Speaking of the vibe check, Chin Coleman, man. Between Chin Coleman and freshman guard Cash Chavis, like the vibes are in order with Arkansas. They make sure of that. But Chin's funny. He was getting after Boogie Flan because like every time he touched the basketball, you could hear Chin Coleman say, "No restrictions, Boogie. No restrictions, Boogie Flan." He's kind of yelling at him. And the reason he was doing that, not because Boogie wasn't going hard, but I think he was also reminding the grad assistants or, whoever was kind of, dummy guarding him or giving him that contact, like, yo, don't take it easy on this dude. Like Texas Tech is not going to, and neither should you, right? So it was pretty good to see. From the Texas Tech standpoint of things, I got to say, Chance McMillan was out there. Okay, this is the guy who was their, one of their best players. Definitely, I think their best guard in the backcourt, was averaging 14 points per game, 43% shooter from three, high volume. He's really good. He's been dealing with an oblique injury, missed some time in the Big 12 tournament, missed both games last week at the NCAA tournament, and he was out there practicing. Now, Texas Tech's vibe was a little bit different at practice. For the media viewing portion of it, at least, they weren't getting after it as early like the Hogs were. It was just like, come out there, get a feel for the rim, get some shots up kind of deal, and so that's what we were seeing from them. But he was out there getting up some shots. I was talking to a local a Texas Tech guy who said that he was kind of out there with them for that thing on where were they at? I guess they weren't in Providence, were they? Wherever they were, anyway, they had open practice in the first couple of rounds, and he was out there shooting some, but like he couldn't get past the free throw line or the elbow without like wincing in pain. Like it didn't feel good on that ab. I saw him out there shooting threes. So an oblique is tricky. It's kind of the same deal with like a baseball player or a pitcher. Think about what he has to do. Overextending, handling the ball. You're always using your core, the extension that you got to get on your shot. Like everything's going to bother that. So we'll see, what it looks like for him. But I kind of get the sense that both these teams might be at full strength going into this one. They're two forwards. JT Toppin. He's a really, really talented guy. If you don't know who he is now, you're going to know by the end of the game. He is about Trevin Brazil's height, a little bit bigger, a little bit broader, a little bit more meat on his bones. He's maybe got like 10 pounds on Trevin, but that's the kind of frame that you're looking at here. Darian Williams, who is their four-man that we've kind of compared to a Dude Thero, he is nowhere near as tall as a Dude Thero. In fact, he's only barely taller than me. He might be 6'5". I don't know if he's listed at 6'6", 6'7". He is not that tall. But what he is thick with two C's. The man's got some rear end to him. Very, very strong physical guy. So I look at that and I think, okay, Trevin's going to have to guard him and use his length. Adu obviously can guard him if he's out there. That's good. But I was also wondering about, Carter Knox and, some of Arkansas's bigger wings that might be able to get out there. I don't know about that one. We'd have to see. Now, Carter's a tough son of a gun, so maybe he could find some success there with that. I think that's maybe your third, fourth option. I'd try to avoid that if you could. Outside of that, like when you get into Texas Tech's backcourt, for example, you're going to see that Arkansas is much bigger, much taller, much longer, and much more athletic. That really, really popped me out there. So they are going to have an advantage there for sure, in my opinion. What else? They can really shoot it. Texas Tech, obviously. They're making a bunch of shots out there. That being said, they are shooting... Checks notes, 25% from three in the NCAA tournament so far, 15 of 60. They hoisted 46 threes in the first game and made 13 of them. They just went 2 of 14 against Drake. So like they overcorrected for shooting too many. They're going to have to knock down double-digit threes to beat Arkansas. They are very capable of doing that, but they haven't done it so far in the NCAA tournament. Arkansas is going to challenge them in different ways because of their athleticism, so that's something to keep an eye on. I would imagine they're probably going to hit a few early, and we're going to be like, what the heck, man, here we go, before they maybe chill out a little bit. So we'll see. I think Arkansas will make that adjustment, though. But everyone is a threat outside of Toppin, and he can make them. It's just not really his thing. Or the backup big, Federico. Everybody else is attempting at least 3 3-pointers per game. So I mean, those dudes are going to hoist them up there, right? They're going to get their shots. Don't you doubt that for 1 second. Elijah Hawkins, really good point guard for him, over 130 assists on the season. He's a guy that can shoot it. We talked about McMillian. They've got Anderson. They've got Kerwin Walton, other guys who can knock it down. And Darian Williams at the 4 spot. He's such a load in there that he's probably a little bit better off the bounce or taking advantage of post mismatches. But he can shoot the 3 as well. So what else? Let's see. Obviously, Toppin's going to be a big focal point there. You got to keep him from getting to his left hand. If you're the Razorbacks, that's easier said than done. I'm very anxious to see if Arkansas is able to guard him without having to bring a bunch of double teams and a bunch of help, because that's where they can start spraying it out because he's a willing passer, and then that can become problematic for you. The ball screen game on both ends of the floor is going to be so critical. They are really good at attacking in ball screens and getting the ball to their bigs. It's been an area where, in fairness, Arkansas struggled at times to defend that. They're a lot better with Jonas Adu now, but that's something they're going to have to account for. And then on the other end, Arkansas has the ability to really punish them with that. Pick and rolls and pick and pops are going to be very important for the Razorbacks. Make JT Toppin move, make him defend, make him get out on the perimeter, make him account for you. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. I think it's a big factor in this basketball game. What else? A few other things and we'll wrap up. Texas Tech, they don't turn it over. Okay, they don't turn it over. They also don't turn other teams over that much. So ball security is going to be something to watch there. Can Arkansas use their athleticism, their speed? They play at such a faster tempo, the Razorbacks do, to generate some turnovers and then get out in transition, because if Arkansas can get out in the run, I think it's really going to benefit them in this basketball game. We've seen that they're able to score and execute a lot better in the half court here lately. When they are in those situations, it's going to be a little bit different than St. John's, where DJ Wagner or whoever just gets it, you get a ball screen and you're getting downhill. I think it's going to be very, very critical for Arkansas to reverse the ball, get it on opposite sides of the floor, get that defense in rotations, and then be able to attack the gaps, because you can get by Texas Tech off the bounce, but they're really good in help, okay? And so then you're going to be able to spray it out and knock down open threes. Arkansas hasn't necessarily done a lot of that in the NCAA tournament. They're going to need to in this basketball game for sure. Not a lot of rim protection there from Texas Tech. Like JT Toppin, he can block shots for sure, but that's definitely not his forte. So I think Arkansas is going to be able to challenge them at the rim if they get there, right? And so, be disciplined about it. You don't have to go crazy. I think that Arkansas could impact them on the offensive glass a little bit with the way that they're able to attack that with their athleticism. This is not going to be a St. John's situation where they get 30 offensive, 28 offensive rebounds that St. John's got? That was absolutely crazy. I don't think that Texas Tech's going to do that, although you got to keep them off the glass as well, for sure there. We talked about the matchup with Williams. I think Thero and Trevin are probably your best bets there. Can you stay out of foul trouble if you're Arkansas, because that has hurt them? Now you might have an extra body here that could help, but you want to keep them off the free throw line. And then can you get to the free throw line? Can you get them into foul trouble? Because this is not a deep Texas Tech team. They've been playing 7 guys themselves. If McMillian's back, then they'll play him as an 8th. But there's definitely a drop-off after the first 5 or 6 there. So we'll see about that. I think this is a pretty good matchup for Jonas Adu in the post. I'm anxious to see what Arkansas has dialed up for him. Who can rattle home some threes? I think Arkansas, if they make 8 threes in this basketball game, the Razorbacks, I think they're going to win it. I think that's a good number to look at for them there. And then Arkansas is more battle-tested in the NCAA tournament right now. Kansas and St. John, the way those games are played, the competition level, the intensity, the pressure, Arkansas's felt that, and they've executed and come out on top both times. Not something that Texas Tech has seen just yet against Wilmington and Drake. Now, Wilmington gave them a push. Drake, they didn't completely blow out of the water, but those games were decided there by the end. This is going to be a different level for them. How are they able to handle that? Because this is going to be a new environment, new type of situation for them. It's going to be new for Grant McCasland too, although I will say I was very, very impressed with Texas Tech's Grant McCasland. Super smooth up there at the press conference. You can tell how detail-oriented it is, how prepared he and his staff and his team are. And he just had a lot of, I thought, really good quotes, really insightful stuff. He's a winner. I think he's a rising star in this business. And whenever John Calipari hangs it up, I would love to have Grant McCasland as the head coach of Arkansas. I think the dude is awesome. So I'm not sitting here spitting coaching mismatch, but I'm just saying there's a certain level of pressure that comes with a Sweet 16 game down the stretch. Like, that type of vibe is a little bit different, and we just don't know yet. how Texas Tech and those guys are going to be able to handle that. All right, Sweet 16 game coming up. I know it's also transfer portal season. Yes, I'm still following it. Yes, I'm still taking notes. Just a couple things before we get out of here. Yes, my top priority is covering this team down in San Francisco for sure. Owen Freeman, the big man out of Iowa, sounds like he is Creighton bound. Arkansas in on a handful of big men, right? Guys that we have mentioned on the Pod at the Palace here recently. San Diego State's Magoon Guath, and it sounds like Arkansas is very serious about the potential there with him, the big 7-footer. Keep an eye on that one as we get whenever the season closes. I think that's when we're going to start to see Arkansas making some splashes there. That's a name. South Carolina's Nick Pringle. You guys remember him. He really bullied Arkansas in Columbia, gave Big Z the business. A great kind of backup big role type of option there. Arkansas has been in contact with him. I don't know if it's as far along as the Guath situation is, but what might be is Oregon State's Michael Rataj. Okay, the 6'9", 220-pound big man, really, really talented. Average 17 and 7. The staff, as I'm told, is pretty enamored with him and what he could bring to the table. I've been talking to my buddy JC Hoops about that. You guys know JC, he's a good man. Been talking to him a lot about that, and it sounds like there's some mutual interest there for sure. Would Arkansas take both him and Guath if they had the opportunity? I actually don't think so. It might be a first to pop situation if you can make it happen, but we'll keep an eye on it. And then obviously my cuzzo, right, Lamar Wilkerson. I know Kentucky's, they said they might be in there or whatever. I don't know who said that. Listen, I'm confident in saying right here, right now, and things are obviously subject to change, and we'll see. I think he probably wants to take a visit and meet with the staff and all that. But this has been an ongoing thing since before he hit the portal. It's just kind of the way this stuff works nowadays. If he comes out of the draft, and I think he will, Arkansas has a very, very good chance and are the absolute favorites to land his services there, especially once Coach Cal probably pulls the trigger and signs off on it for good. But I don't know that we're looking at a splash before the Razorbacks are done with their run here. Now, if they get to the Final Four, that might change because you might have to do some things. But you got to consider, once the season ends, they also need to see who they're going to retain and who they're not. So I think that kind of factors into some things, but just because they're not signing guys out of the portal right away doesn't mean they're not working, because the staff has definitely been very active so far. But all right, I'm out of here. I got to run. Got to go do Inside Arkansas Live. Got to do a spot on THV 11. There's a lot going on. Pod at the Palace post-game show afterwards. If you're in San Francisco, get out to the Splash Bar, which is connected to the Chase Center. It's awesome. That's where we're doing the post-game show. Otherwise, tap in with us as always. We'll be again about 10-15 minutes after the conclusion of the game to talk about it. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. The Pod at the Palace. Y'all have a good day. Woo Pig. It's the Sweet 16. Embrace it. It's going to be a fun one. We'll see you guys later.